Right, a little bit different than what I'm used to, but ahoy ahoy. My name is Elsie Kent. You may recognize me from TikTok. Um, on there a lot. I do have a fair amount of videos, one which recently went viral. And in that one, I was basically talking about, I was basically talking about how we are so cut off from our great encoding lag. Ah. Anyway, so yeah, I have like 87.4 followers. All right, load, dang you. Yeah, so essentially, you may have seen me around. You may have seen me. But yeah, my whole thing is silence in the face of injustice is implicit oppressor. And again, I recently went viral for just talking about how a lot of our escapism anymore is literally just playing video games where we have resources that we put the full labor into extracting, refining, and crafting, and then we get full use of that item. Like we don't have to like sit there for hours and hours and hours to be able to afford one of what we're cranking out 1,000 of in 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So how do we get to a point where everybody just kind of accepts things the way that they are? Well, that is control of information, which epistemology, the philosophy of knowledge, does go into. So, before we go any further, for those who are not familiar with what's going on right now, there were some Republican Missouri state senators who participated in a rather flamboyant uh, illumination ceremony, let's say.
We've all seen this video this weekend, and an awful lot of people have reacted to it. Many people have reacted to it by drawing comparisons with other book-burning events run by the Nazis. The British are also famous for book burning, the Library of Congress, and British Protestants, when the Church of England was first founded, burning the books of Catholics. Yes, it's safe to say book burning is never done by the good guys. It is done by people wanting to impose religious oppression.
You pretty much get the point there. So what does this have to do with epistemology? Essentially, the phenomenon of echo chambers, we've all heard this phrase thrown around, especially since Trump came to power. Echo chamber, echo chamber, echo chamber. What is an echo chamber? An echo chamber, according to C. Tai Nguyen, I do apologize. I'm ignorant of how to pronounce that particular last name, and I've seen it a million times, and that is totally my fault. Anyway, from the University of Utah, wrote a paper entitled Echo Chambers and Epistemic Bubbles. It was published in 2020. And it basically goes on to clarify that recent conversation has blurred two very different social epistemic phenomena, echo chambers and epistemic bubbles. Members of epistemic bubbles merely lack exposure to relevant information and arguments. Members of echo chambers, on the other hand, have been brought to systematically distrust all outside sources. So if you remember the movie The Water Boy, or if you've ever heard of the movie The Water Boy, you may remember one of the most iconic scenes from the trailer was Bobby getting mad at the professor and even inflicting violence upon him simply because he disagreed with how his mama made him understand the world, essentially. Well, mama says that alligators are cranky because they've got all those teeth and no toothbrush, or whatever it was. And then the professor goes on to instruct Bobby that not only is that wrong, but it's laughably wrong. And Bobby tackles the professor to the ground. When we're talking about echo chambers and indoctrination, we're talking about identity. Bobby identified as his mama's son more than he identified as a university student. And that is why he felt justified in inflicting violence upon another body. After Bobby's identity changes, after he identifies as a football player, after he identifies as a student, after he identifies as a member of a different community than he's used to being a part of, i.e., himself and his mother, where she was able to create an epistemic bubble and foster an echo chamber. The reason why it was more of an echo chamber, or how it became an epistemic bubble rather than an echo chamber, was Bobby was able to change his identity and pop the bubble. He was able to take in new information. In a true epistemic bubble, simply taking in the new information is enough to pop that bubble, dispel that ignorance. Whereas in an echo chamber, like we saw with Bobby, it really does take a lot of will to change on the other person's part. And if you watch this scene from The Water Boy, this is where Bobby is choosing to exercise his autonomy over his time and his attention. And his new identity means that he's going to be giving his time and his attention, instead of to his mother, to his studies, to the end of being able to play football, which his mother has in the echo chamber, in the epistemic bubble, or in the echo chamber, excuse me, qualified as the devil. And the reason she did this was so that Bobby would never venture outside of the boundaries that she gave him, so that she could maintain control. And as you can see with Gen Z, like when Bobby Boucher here is actually exposed to other opinions, other experiences that change his identity, that not only challenge who he is, but who his mother is, that is when he gets the ability to, well, you'll see. And I find it funny that he's wearing a USA shirt.
Maybe you could stop brushing my hair so I can read.
Read? You never get to read. What you reading for?
Because I enjoys it, Mama.
Don't look like to me you enjoys it. Sitting there all grouchy.
Mama, I gotta read this book and 6 other books tonight, or else I can't play foot.
Wah, wah, wah.
Ball.
Foosball.
All right, so at this moment, because she is attempting to create an echo chamber for Bobby, which again turned out to be an epistemic bubble because the information got in. Well, it was an echo chamber because it had to do with identity. I'm confusing myself. Sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so at this point, Bobby's mom recognizes that he is no longer ascribing to the identity that she gave to him. He is no longer a good boy, the way that she defines a good boy, which is you stay away from everything your mama tells you is the devil, which is literally the definition of an echo chamber. So when Bobby makes it a point, well, when Bobby slips up, because that's the other thing too with the cognitive dissonance, and well, not cognitive dissonance, echo chambers are much harder to escape because once in their grip, an agent may act with epistemic virtue, but social context will pervert those actions. So again, he attacked the professor because he felt it was his epistemic duty to do so, to physically punish him the way his mother would physically punish him if he disobeyed. That is how he learned to communicate. That is how he learned to move through the world. See, again, members of epistemic bubbles merely lack exposure to relevant information and arguments, whereas members of echo chambers have been brought to systematically distrust all outside sources. So the entire point is that the other voices are not heard. Once Bobby started hearing other people's voices besides his mother's,
You playing the foosball behind my back?
The only reason I'm doing this so I can go to school.
School? You going to school?
I'm
Ow!
sorry, Mama. I wanted to tell you.
and you see how she went, ow! So he's, as far as she's concerned, still identifying as a good boy. So she's punishing him by being like, oh, you're hurting me, you're hurting me, you're hurting me. That's the same rhetoric that is used to justify these book burnings. It's hurting us, it's hurting us. Oh, you're gonna hurt the kids' feelings. You're gonna confuse them. They're gonna get hurt. They're gonna get hurt.
Off Gallivant with your fancy foosball friends. It's
This
school,
abuse hurts.
While I'm sitting here all
This
day
abuse
with nobody
is what
to keep me
hurts.
company except Steve. The chickens are coming home to roost, Bobby Boucher. You reap the fruit of your selfish ways. You gonna lose all your fancy foosball games, and you're gonna fail your big exam because school is
The devil? Everything is the devil to you, Mama! Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel.
All right, so this is very, very important. He says, I like school and I like football, and I'm going to keep doing them both because they make me feel good. This is basic behavior modification in psychology. The reason why Bobby was able to get out of the echo chamber that his mother had created was because the environments that he found himself in cultivate people on a system of reward rather than punishment. So behavior is changed the fastest and for the longest amount of time through positive reinforcement, which means you reward every single time for like the first 10, 12, 32, 33 times. And then it's varied intervals of reward after that. If you look at how women are socialized, AFABs are socialized in cis-heteronormative patriarchy, it's a diminishing return on your looks that sends you scrambling to get plastic surgery, Botox, things of that nature in order to, because again, you're getting varied intervals of reward. You're not getting catcalled every time you go out anymore. So your brain needs you to like get that level again. So it like, how do I fix this? And then that's how they sell people the idea of literally slicing entire strips of their skin off for non-medical reasons. Varied intervals of reward. You identify as a woman who is attractive. You are no longer seen as attractive. This procedure could make you attractive again. You see what I'm saying? This is how echo chambers function, not only in an interpersonal sense, but in a societal and even more so institutional sense.
Get on. Such
And
at a book burning.
anyway,
And these
so that's one of them. Here's the actual
This is a book burning.
Hold on. I'm trying to go to the original one here.
This is a book burning by Republican Missouri state senators.
And they're chanting, "Let's go, Brandon." That is an obscene amount of fuel, by the way. That is an obscene amount of fuel. This is all for optics. This is all for optics. I'm gonna go ahead and but here, let me get rid of all the overlays really quick. All right, so Sage Surge says, allegedly this is Missouri Republicans at a book burning party where they used flamethrowers to destroy history books. So yep, this is current events. This is what's going on in the United States, in the Midwest, Missouri. And again, this is a senator. This is somebody who already has a position of power. Because
This is a book burning by Republican Missouri state.
Yeah. That's the whole thing, is like it was an entire event. It's not like the time, you know, Kid Rock decided to put a couple of, you know, rifle rounds into a pack of Bud Light or whatever. No, this was coordinated, and this was who pointed
We've
it
all
out.
seen this video. Obviously, book burning is for the bad guys. How does one get on such an invite list? Because obviously, these people know what they're doing is fucking evil. Well, they obviously think they are righteous Christian Americans.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes back to the justifications for the book burnings, the justifications for sheltering your children in a way that actively harms them, is because, again, echo chambers are much harder to escape. Escape from an echo chamber may require, I don't say may require, I say it almost certainly requires a radical rebooting of one's belief system. And even if that radical rebooting of one's belief system is realizing the hypocrisy coming from the leadership, even if that radical rebooting is realizing how your actions are directly against what you purport to be for. And again, once in their grip, an agent may act with epistemic virtue, but social context will pervert those actions. So people will do the right thing, but it'll be the right thing in the context of the echo chamber to which they now belong. They have to check in with the other members of their group to make sure that they're not going to get canceled by their group. They don't care if everybody else cancels them. They love being canceled by everybody else. They love being persecuted. They love feeling like everybody's against them and they have nobody else, and that's why they're going to win, because they're the underdog. Like, echo chambers sell this in particular to people who are downtrodden, who are ignorant, who are under this delusion that they are going to exemplify the ends justify the means. Like, because they do all of these book burnings, what's going to happen? All the good little girls and boys are going to settle down into good little Christian marriages and have good little Christian boys and girls who are going to settle down into good Christian marriages and have good little Christian boys and girls. And they will fulfill their promise to God, which, I'm sorry, I don't see the part in Matthew where it says the book burners are going to go to the righteous place, and those who try to love and heal and educate people are going to be sent down into the depths. Because as far as I remember in Matthew, it's actually the opposite. It's actually the opposite. And yeah. Yeah. So, yep, that's my whole thing is that's why they want the book burnings to happen to the history books. That's why Moms for Liberty is campaigning to get on these school boards and change the curriculum. Closet Land. Wonderful play, page 4. Man, it says here you are a writer of children's fiction. Do you do any other sort of writing? Woman, like what? Man, oh, political, for instance. Woman, no, I'm really quite ignorant about politics. Man, that's good. I mean, it's better to have no ideas than half-baked ones. So you're not a member of any underground group or anything. Woman, no. Man, then tell me what you're doing here. Woman, I'm asking you the same thing. This is ridiculous. Man, are your stories political? Woman, I write for 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds. Man, so children make the best receptacles for propaganda. You can do anything with children as long as you play with them. Who said that? Woman, Bismarck. So when I see these little PragerU cartoons, I understand the point of them. It is to indoctrinate children into thinking that this is normal, that the Christian way is the only way, that revisionist history is the only history, and anybody who wants to tell you the truth is just being mean. What's mean about it? What's mean about it? Because Gen Z is already standing up. Gen Z has been told what is and isn't the devil, found out themselves what is and isn't the devil, and is like done in every sense of the word with listening to this. And yeah, that it's very, very heartening to see how many younger people are getting into politics, and radicalizing is a weird word, but like bursting the epistemic bubble for people and giving them information they normally wouldn't have had, and they go, no, actually this makes sense. Yes, this makes sense. This makes sense. You can only be indoctrinated so much. There comes a point at which the indoctrination just will stop working. You can't tell somebody about goodness and love and kindness, then refuse to show it, then wonder why they refuse to take you seriously as an authority figure. You can only do as I say, not as I do so many times before people just go, ugh, you know. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on the matter. It's all related. It's all about echo chambers and epistemic bubbles. They want to create an echo chamber in order to reinforce the idea that their echo chamber is justified in violating outright constitutional rights of other citizens of this nation. Colonized nation. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, tuning in, playing back, what have you. I have been Elsie Kent, and